Why don't we jump right into our first topic, which is, of course, that I was wrong this week.
Yeah.
Twice.
Yeah.
Now, I assume that you have watched literally nothing.
Nope.
I assume you know. I mean, I don't think there are any two tech products that you could care less about than the iPhone and the PlayStation.
Yep. Yeah.
So why don't I catch you up on exactly what happened, and then we'll go from... Wow. It's been 3 minutes and we've already thrown something at our producer.
I'm sorry, I was talking.
Why don't we... What do you want to start with? Should I catch you up on the iPhone, or
Let's do the iPhone.
Okay. So Apple announced the iPhone 16 lineup. So you got the 16, the 16 Plus, the 16 Pro, and the 16 Pro Max. If I recall correctly, honestly, I'm not obsessed with Apple's lineup and figuring out exactly what it is. And I'll look at it when I need to and I'll refresh myself. But other than that, it honestly isn't something that I pay that close attention to. But this time around, and this made people pretty angry, I was approaching the iPhone announcement event from a bit of a different perspective. So I feel like, and what happened was our video ended up having a pretty positive overall spin on it.
Sure.
When largely the reaction from the tech press and sort of influencer army out there was pretty negative. But I'd like to explain why. So first of all, let's talk about what makes the iPhone 16 lineup new. They're getting the new A18 processor family. So we have a regular A18 in the iPhone 16 and then an A18 Pro in the iPhone 16 Pro. As far as we can tell from Apple's comparative benchmarks, like they didn't compare both of these new processors to one single predecessor. They compared them to different things.
Oh.
And if you do the math from previous Apple presentations, they seem like they're probably pretty close. So it looks like they're very similar in terms of the at least CPU performance, GPU performance, and neural processor performance. But all of this is going to become more clear as time goes on. There's upgraded glass. So their ceramic shield is now significantly stronger. I actually don't have a summary of the specs in my notes, which I normally have when I run through something like this. So we'll have to kind of figure that out. But the things that really stood out to me were actually not necessarily the hardware. Oh, there's a new button. There's like a programmable button.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. Action button, which I kind of like.
Was that ever a thing in the past?
On the iPhone?
I read some comments of people talking about like, oh, they took the button away so that they could give it back to us now. And I was like, what?
I mean, they had the home button.
Okay.
But that wasn't
Did they have like
programmable.
a button? Action button was on the 15
Yeah, it was on the 15 Pro, but now it's on the regular 16.
So that's just, okay.
So there were a few things that people were pretty the camera button is new across the board.
Okay.
So we have a dedicated shutter button, but no iPhone in the past has ever had a shutter button.
Okay.
So there were a couple of things that people were pretty upset about. And one of them was that in the video, I said that I was probably going to go, because I've been talking about switching to an iPhone for a while now. And I think I'm overdue. And there's a lot of things about iOS 18 that are looking very compelling to me. And there's some Android Army members who are telling me that these aren't new features to Apple, or that they're copied from Android, or that they don't make that much of a difference, or whatever. But the reality of it is that to me, like the phone operating system that I use doesn't really matter, and I don't really care who's copying from each other. Realistically, Google and Apple copy liberally from each other at this point, and it doesn't really matter to me where it originated from. What matters to me is that I need a new device right now, and the iPhone 16 lineup actually looks
interesting,
pretty compelling.
And I think that's kind of the root of where your thoughts on this stuff came from, was that you need a new device and you're on an old one. And I think you and I even talked about this. I don't remember, but a lot of people that are unhappy with the event, it's because they have a current generation device and they're looking at the upgrade and going, this doesn't really seem like a lot. But it's called iPhone 16. The jumps per generation is gonna slow down. Phones have been boring for a long time now, and the way I'm kind of looking at it is you can be disappointed quite genuinely every single generation, or you can start shifting your goalposts a little bit and look like 1 or 2 generations back for your improvement jumps.
And I think it's going to be more than 1 or 2. I think realistically what this comes down to is that the days of us getting something major to upgrade to every single generation, not only are they dead, but they've been dead for a long time.
I completely agree. I've been over it for a few years now at the very least.
And so I guess that was, and the amount of speculation that we were paid by Apple to have kind of a positive spin on it. Guys, anytime you see someone who accuses us of being paid by Apple to be positive about Apple products, you can immediately just dismiss
Were
anything.
we even invited to the event?
No, of course not.
Yeah.
Apple's
Let
still
alone paid.
the extent of Apple's media relationship with me up until now is that they emailed me once.
Aren't they kind of cool with MAC address?
Oh, I don't know. If they are, no one has kept me up to date on it.
Okay, I don't know. I'm not sure.
Maybe. But as far as I am concerned, and as far as the LTT channel is concerned, Apple has never gone past scheduling a conference call with me. They never actually went through with the call. It did get scheduled, but it was canceled minutes before we actually went through with engaging for the first time. Apple has no interest in working together with me. So people were mad about a number of things. They were mad because they felt we were overly positive about the event. And I think that a big part of that comes down to that difference in perspective, where most of the rest of the tech media, where if they're running a 15 Pro now or a 15 Pro Max, are looking at this going, boring.
Yeah.
Where's the innovation, Apple? And I think they just have to get used to the idea that that's going to happen over a much longer cycle. Whereas I'm looking at it going, man, my AirPods Pro 2s just got way better, like ages after I bought them, which I'm pretty stoked on.
I didn't even know there was a thing. That sounds great.
It's a kind of behavior that...
What feature are you gaining?
For me personally, not much. They're optimizing the noise cancellation. They're adding some
And this is retroactive to what you have now?
Yeah, it looks like it's like some kind of machine learning assisted, quickly switching in between transparency mode for conversations and turning everything back up.
that thing looked really cool.
Yep. It's something that absolutely exists in other products, but my assumption is that based on how well Apple has handled active noise cancellation, it'll actually be implemented pretty well, and I might actually use it. They're also adding hearing aid-like functionality to AirPods. I've been using them as casual hearing protection for a long time, but they are more formally talking about using them that way with the improved active noise cancellation. If you cancel out a wave, the wave is canceled.
No, I was thinking you mentioned hearing aid and then noise protection.
Both.
And I thought you were saying those were the same thing for a second.
Not the same thing.
Yeah, no, you're talking about different stuff. Okay.
So I thought that was pretty cool. I actually opened the video on a software update essentially, and I think a lot of people were kind of surprised to see that. The other thing that people kind of went after me for was that I told them my intention was to go with the iPhone 16 Plus, the non-Pro, and a lot of the feedback that I got on that was, Linus, if you're going to go into the Apple ecosystem for the first time in a long time, you should be having the full experience. But the reality of it is, guys, I can pick any iPhone I want. We're ordering all of them through work. I just literally grab off the shelf whichever one I want to use. But the reason that I went with the iPhone 16 or iPhone 16 Plus, I haven't actually 100% decided which one I want. I'm going to hold them first, is that I don't think people should be buying the Pro. Don't get me wrong.
I don't know what the difference is.
There's features on the Pro that I would like to have. The regular iPhone 16 still doesn't have a high refresh rate display.
Ooh.
Yeah.
60 hertz?
Which for $800,
Hey.
pretty embarrassing. But most of the other stuff but then again, neither does the device that I am upgrading from.
It feels nicer. I have a higher refresh rate screen now. I can feel it.
It does. But I guess what I've discovered is for my phone, I don't know if I don't game on my phone. It does make touch feel more responsive. I can absolutely instantly tell if I'm using a high refresh rate device, and things like higher polling rates on the touch input. It definitely makes a difference. But I think I have just become not that much of a power user. And a lot of the other features on the Pro, I just don't need them. The studio quality microphone, 4K 120 FPS recording, I don't need that stuff. It's got another camera.
I don't know, man. The iPhone's ability to film in log makes video on iPhone extremely interesting.
Sure, but I'm not using it professionally. This is just my phone. Do I need to shoot 4K 120 on it? Like I could see it. Personally. They added ProRes recording to the non-Pro. So if I just want to record in ProRes and I don't need 120 frames per second.
Is there ever like you ever want to shoot like a little slow-mo thing of your son playing badminton or something like that? I don't know.
Sure. Do I need it at 4K?
Oh, it's 4. Okay, so you could still do
4K. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can still do high. I can still do high frame rate.
Sheesh.
Yeah. It's a lot. People are saying, okay, yeah, the LiDAR. The LiDAR is great. You know what? That is great. I don't take that many pictures, and the handful of features that need the depth sensing, I know enough people that I can borrow a phone from. Like I think it's come up twice. Once when I had to do a facial scan for that VR headset, the Big Screen Beyond, and once when I was when I had a bit part in an undisclosed film that I don't know if it's ever even going to get made at this point. I haven't heard back about it in a while. Whatever.
I wonder if part of it. Sorry, keep going.
I used it to scan the room that I was in because that was useful for them for VFX like overlays.
I wonder if part of this is people that can you pre-order yet?
I think we've placed our orders.
Did they set up pre-orders already?
I actually don't know. It's a minor detail. Procurement will take care of that.
Yeah. Way to go.
It's nice.
What was I going to say? I wonder if some of this is people that bought the Pro that are, yes, you can pre-order it. I wonder if this is people that bought the Pro that, want the tech guy to make the same decision they did.
I do think there's a lot of that. And
I can see why they would want to, because it's $1,500 Canadian.
It's Canadian. This is Canadian. So it starts at, I believe, $1,200 US. And it is funny. It is funny to me seeing how many people are legitimately angry at me, like I've betrayed them.
The Pro Max is $1,750
because I'm using an iPhone.
The Pro Max is what my car cost. Not my current one.
Yeah, I was going to say, surely that's not right.
No, my first car. Sorry.
You're getting older. Your first car was a minute ago. You might have to have some inflationary adjustments, which we'll be talking about a little bit later.
It's still a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, and so I was looking at the iPhone 16 going, okay, do I need a titanium phone? Or is aluminum probably okay?
Are you going to end up, that one's not in a case. Are you going to put it in a case anyways?
No, I'm not going to put it in a case.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But like, it's aluminum, and dude, their glass is like very shatter resistant. So I'm really not that worried about it.
I used to be no case. I was no case in my previous phone. This phone's so huge that I decided to get a case for it anyways, because I was like, I feel like it's just going to get knocked off of things more often because it's enormous, and I'm happy I have one. Look at this. There's a massive bite out of that corner.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you really hit that one.
Yeah.
That case is doing work.
And it is actually. It's been dropped a couple times. But something that's kind of nice about it is that I just don't care, because I don't even like the phone.
Nice.
But I don't want to replace it. So there's a case on it, but I don't care for it, if that makes sense. So it's just like, whatever.
Yep.
Which is a nice, it's nice to just not worry about it.
Another difference for the Pro is that the bezels are slightly smaller. So in about the same form factor, the screens are 0.2 inches bigger. But then if I cared that much about that, why would I get an iPhone with like a giant forehead notch in it in the first place? Like I don't know, guys. I mean, feel free to like come at me and let me know. But I think that people should probably just be getting the regular 16 if they want an iPhone, if they want the ecosystem. And it's funny to me how we get so stuck in our tech bubble and we get so stuck in our sort of in our priorities that sometimes we forget that most people don't care.
Yeah.
Most people cannot tell a 60 hertz display from a high refresh rate display.
Are also only looking to upgrade their phones when their battery life starts to annoy them too much, which is usually every like 3 years.
Or more. Like my battery life didn't really start getting bad on this until about the last year or so. And I believe this is 6 years old
Probably
now.
depends on their usage. Like if they game a lot, so they're doing some really brutal battery cycles, then it's going to be sooner. If they don't, later, et cetera, et cetera.
Noki asks, you often say you prefer a phone where you can take photos and videos of kids' important moments. Would the iPhone 16's shutter button be a good addition for you? I never need to be that quick on the draw. Like as long as I've got a gesture that I can activate in a reasonable amount of time and the on-screen button is there in a reasonable amount of time. Like I'm so well adjusted now to the ergonomics of holding my phone so that my thumb is here for the shutter button. The value of a dedicated hardware button for that for me is extremely low. Extremely low. There's still things that I'm super not impressed about. I mean, the fact that Apple's base storage is still 128 gigs.
I was just going to talk about that.
On
Because
devices that cost like a flippin' ton of money. The fact that storage upgrades cost so much.
$300 to go from 512 gigs to 1 terabyte.
We did the math, Luke.
Crazy.
Apple literally charges so much that their NAND flash chips could be made of gold. Literally. I'm serious. We grabbed some pieces of the golden controller and we compared them to like NAND chips, and we did the math and like how much gold it was to weigh as much as like Apple's NAND chips, and like weight for weight, Apple storage and memory costs as much as gold.
Was this for a video?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, why would you need the pieces from the gold?
I believe it was
you
from
just weigh the other one and then look up gold value.
I believe it was. But we had the gold, so we could do it physically.
That's why I said, is it for a video? Because if it's for a video, then it's a cool visual thing. Anyways.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was freaking hilarious, right? Though, because it's crazy. It's like when you compare printer ink to, Chanel number whatever, like these obscenely valuable liquids.
Funny enough, I watched that video.
Oh?
The printer video?
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched that.
You're one of the very few who did. I
didn't watch the
terrible
Apple or
performer.
PlayStation one.
How'd you like it?
It was pretty good.
Yeah.
I didn't know about the whole tank thing and stuff. And
there was one really mad comment that was saying, everyone knows you should just get an older laser printer. No? It had a bunch of upvotes.
I get these questions all the time.
And it's like...
genuinely.
No. They were like, everyone knows like our advice was bad. They didn't get to the part of the video where we talked about that.
Oh, very cool.
I can't help people. I can't help them. Anywho, so I'm kind of excited to try it, even though I'm definitely going to have some issues. I don't think that having USB 2 speeds is going to bother me that much day to day. I very rarely offload. I noticed Plex actually.
Why is it USB 2 speeds?
On the 16 non-Pro, it's USB 2, even though it's USB-C. Like, look, there's absolutely stuff that is going to make me mad. But how often when's the last time you offloaded photos from your phone via USB?
Yeah, that's fair.
When's the last time you connected your phone to a computer via USB?
Oh, decently often, actually.
Okay, to transfer files, though?
No.
Okay, so who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares?
I do think it's interesting. Do they have any color overlap? Oh, black and white? Okay.
Crystal asks, will you miss your S Pen? The answer is absolutely.
Yeah.
I've gone from, why are they taking up space in my note with this stupid pen, to whenever I want it, I really want it, predominantly for marking up screenshots.
Why don't you get a new Note? Is it just Apple time?
Yeah, I could. It's just time.
Apple time.
Yeah, it's just time. So basically, I think that's what it boils down to. And you know what? The last part I think is, I mean, we've talked about this on the WAN show, so you guys will kind of be familiar with this already, but I'm so tired of negativity.
Yeah.
It's like, why do we have to compare it to last year's iPhone 15 and say it's not enough? What do you mean it's not enough? If it's not enough, then keep your iPhone 15.
Yeah.
That's totally fine.
That's
Go for it.
Maybe even good.
That's good.
You just, yeah. Who cares?
If anything, I would actually, now that our mobile processors, especially Apple's, are fast enough to do pretty much whatever we could need to do on our phone, reasonably speaking, I would actually love to see less frequent upgrades and longer software support, or whatever that looks like. Because you got to remember, Apple is driven somewhat differently from other phone manufacturers. They are a lot less motivated by the initial sale of the iPhone. To be clear,
they're happy to grab it, though.
They're happy to take your money.
Yeah.
But they are far more motivated by the size of the iOS ecosystem and the number of people that are buying stupid, Yvonne picked up Wordscapes. Like the mobile, like word crossword spelling dejumble thing.
Sure.
And I've been playing with her sometimes. Dude, the lengths that they go to.
We're both getting into playing boomer games with our partners.
Nice.
What is happening? I play the New York Time games with Emma.
Wordle or whatever it is?
Yeah, those things. And you play Wordscapes?
Yeah.
How the mighty fall.
Nice, I know, right? We used to be true gamers. I used to play Left 4 Dead 2 with my posture like this, boys.
Oh, boy. Sorry, keep going.
Ooh,
I heard that.
Yeah, so we've been playing Wordscapes lately. Dude, the length that they go to extract money from you.
Oh, I'm sure.
Apple gets a piece of every one of those transactions. At the end of the day, the most important thing to you is that you're on an iPhone. Not necessarily that you are on the latest iPhone, but that you are on an iPhone. Because the bigger the install base is, the more of that sweet, sweet App Store money they're extracting from you, and the more incentivized app developers are to continue to prioritize the iOS platform. So, I forget where I was going with this. What was my last reason? I forget. It doesn't matter. Shrafkt in Floatplane Chat says, Linus, this is such a disconnected take. When a product costs $1,200 and there's no improvement to justify it, that's when we should be negative. This is a consumer protection issue. No. A consumer protection issue would be if Apple tells you it's something that it isn't.
Yeah.
A consumer protection issue would be if Apple deactivates your iPhone 15 Pro and forces you to buy an iPhone 16 Pro.
You are not compelled to buy this.
This is not food. It's not shelter. It's not water. It's not a iPhone.
But if you have a 15, or especially like a 15 Pro,
you don't need a new phone.
Yeah. Which is not a bad thing. That's the biggest take from the event from me, is that you don't need it. And I am certain, honestly, it might have even already happened, because I just don't care that much, because I'm not going to upgrade my phone.
Yeah.
But whatever new Pixel announcement, I'm not upgrading to it. So I don't even really care what it is. What I'm looking for is going to end up being like the Pixel 10 or 11.
Yeah.
When that launches, I'm going to be evaluating that versus whatever iPhone is launching at the same time in comparison to the phone that I currently have, and deciding, am I going to get a battery replacement, or am I going to buy one of these phones?
Yeah.
And then I'm interested in it.
So basically, back to my point of us being more focused on like the positive aspects. Remember too, guys, this isn't a review. This is a summary of a product announcement. So obviously, I'm going to talk about the highlights. Why do I want to drag myself down? Why do I want to drag everything down by dwelling on the negative? And at the end of the day, if it's not a big enough upgrade over last gen, well, that's fine, because Apple's not targeting last gen. They're not selling it to last gen. The question is not, is $1,200 compelling enough for someone who already owns an iPhone 15 Pro? That's a stupid question, because it's not $1,200. It's $1,200 minus whatever you could sell your 15 Pro for. That's the actual value. And that, I don't know, that's up to you. I have no idea what they're worth in the secondary market. That you can go figure that out. The question is $1,200 worth it for someone who needs a phone? And so I think that's the
And it looks like, just on the surface to me, like it looks like, yeah, probably.
That's the difference in perspective that I want to start approaching things with, is as someone who is the actual target market for this product.
The whole iPhone thing, a comment that I saw a few times after we moved off the topic was that we were ignoring negatives. In the video that you did for the iPhone thing,
Yeah.
did you mention anything about how, like, you know, it's cool, whatever, but it might not make sense for you to upgrade if you're on 15?
I just thought that was obvious.
Okay.
I did not mention that it might not make sense to upgrade from the 15.
Okay.
That wasn't my perspective. And I think this comes back to a point that you've kind of been hammering on for a while. We don't need everyone to have that perspective.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
If you want that perspective, you should be watching a video from someone who has an iPhone 15 Pro. I don't.
If you are seriously considering this thing, I would watch... I would value, personally, like actually completely detaching myself as much as possible, I would value seeing your video because it's a different take. And then I would watch a range of other videos that also have other takes. And then I would find where my opinion is on it somewhere in the middle or whatever. Maybe I align perfectly with someone, who knows, but like you figure out where it is. But I don't personally even want a reality where every single piece of content on a product is exactly the same, because if that happens, there will only be one reviewer left.
Yeah, and there's no...
eventually people will stop watching all the other ones.
There's no value to it.
No one wants that.
This is a funny thing. I often get asked by up-and-comers or people who want to start a tech channel, you know, like, do you have any advice on like, you know, my style? Like, what can I do to make my videos more like you? And I'm like, you don't.
Yeah, make your own.
You should have your own ideas. You should have your own perspective.
However much the audience is going to yell at you for not exactly copying what everyone else does,
in the long term,
it's better.
They'll value it. And the proof is in the pudding. My perspectives, my takes have changed over the years. And that's not flip-flopping. That's being open to new information and new ideas and new perspectives.
Theoretically, if you follow the scientific method, your stances on things should change with new information. You should be trying to have the most accurate one you can.
And I did mention some negative things. Like, I mentioned that you can get cheap Android phones that have high refresh rate displays. When I talked about the 60 hertz display on the non-Pro, I mentioned that I would miss side loading and that I would probably still need to have an Android device handy. Like, I did acknowledge issues. It's not like I'm just trying to, it's not like I'm just trying to like be an Apple apologist all of a sudden. I'm never going to get an invite to one of their events. That's never going to happen. And like, honestly, it really just doesn't matter anymore to
I don't know if you want to go.
It would be so much more work to make the same video that I would make in my basement.
Yeah, because you're just watching the keynote anyways. Yeah, so like...
why am I there?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, I can get hands-on with it, but let's be real, it's an iPhone. Like, that's...